It's actually quite the opposite. The ramblings of a madman are quite intriguing. Even more so the thought process behind it all. I mean, to know why the person has gone into a downward spiral into insanity. Most, specialists will give you some bullshit answer about, let's see, childhood incident, childhood friends dying, death in the family, etc., and etc. It's awfully boring if you ask me. To think a man who enjoys the taste of blood or writes biblical verses into his skin with a rusty knife do what they did because their great aunt died. I do believe a couple of cases are true. A mental scar was embedded into their brains as a small child, but it grew from a small cut into a 3-inch laceration that eventually pushed them to take the lives of the loved ones and take their otherwise normal lives away from themselves. But I will tell you the truth, nothing more, nothing less. It's the simplicity or loneliness. Have you ever been alone? Purely alone. No connection to the outside world. Well, No, you haven't. Let me tell you. It's horrifying. It drives a man to the brink of humanity. So far into the depths of insanity that even a connection with another person won't bring them back. As I said, the simplicity can cut away at the sanity. That's what happened to me. It drove me to gut a stranger, to tie a man to a metal table and hack away, smiling at every blood splatter and every scream that echoed through my head. A daily routine repeated every month over and over. I couldn't take it anymore. Instead of doing what most grown men do, simply changing their lives or, let's say, a small thing in their lives, well, in my case, miserable life, I decided a change of lifestyle would suffice. I killed my brother, cutting his head off with an axe, disposing of his rotting carcass, tossing it into a pond in our backyard. I went out and legally bought piranhas to throw in the pond. I'll tell you, it's quite a sight. Just to watch 5 piranhas reduce a headless corpse into bones in a matter of seconds. My therapist, small, awkward man, at this point reached for the phone on a nearby table. I brought out a small 3-inch carving knife and impaled his hand into the table. Hey! It's rude to interrupt a story. His mouth hung loosely, his eyes wide in sheer terror. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. I shook my finger. I can't have you interrupting my story over and over. I took my knife out of the table and brought out a small but smooth stone. I sharpened the blade against it very quickly and stood up. I walked over behind the man, grabbed his head, forcing it backwards. His eyes looked up at me in agony, pain, fear. He was frozen in sheer terror. He shook violently. I gave him a reassuring smile and proceeded to pull his tongue out of his mouth. He began to struggle, so I put my knife edge to his throat. No moving, or I may just slit your throat. He ceased struggling, but shook ever so slightly. I pulled his tongue up and brought my knife into his mouth. I put it to the very back of his tongue and began to saw back and forth. He screamed, but I did my best to muffle the sound. At the end, I held up his bleeding tongue in triumph. There we go. Now you can't interrupt me. Tears streamed down his face, and he sobbed, making awkward noises. I brought his other hand back to the table and impaled it. I tossed the tongue over my shoulder and sat back down. Where was I? Oh, great. Now I forgot. Well, the point I was trying to make is, you people have insanity all wrong. The men simply change to better fit their own needs. It's either insanity or death. What would you choose? He started sobbing more and more. Blood poured from his mouth. I agree. Thank you. I look at my watch and sigh. I do apologize, but I have to leave. Oh, and we were getting somewhere too. Oh well. I suppose I can reschedule for next week? I walked back over to him, took the knife, and shoved it into the right side of his stomach, slowly bringing it over to the left. He cried out. Well, I suppose you could call it that. Blood poured onto his leather chair, and then out onto the floor, forming a pool of blood. I do thank you. I think I've made tremendous progress. I cleaned myself up in the bathroom and walked out as my therapist bled onto the floor.